It's true what they say, like once you stretch yourself, you can't go back. Once you stretch your mind, you can't go back. And when you start to stretch yourself, and it takes work, it takes work. It takes a lot of accountability, honesty with yourself, and about like where, maybe your weaknesses are or whatever, but you discover so much more about yourself. And once you stretch yourself, you're like, well, how much further can I go?
Welcome to the Creating Wealth Podcast, where Kyle Curtin takes you on an extraordinary journey alongside renowned multifamily real estate experts from every corner of the United States. We teach you how to harness the power of real estate investing and witness the transformation of your wealth building strategy. Let's create wealth together.
What's up, guys? Welcome to episode 111 of the Creating Wealth Podcast. Today, we have the great pleasure of chatting with Valerie Jean. Valerie is a credit consultant and entrepreneur out of Providence, Rhode Island. Valerie, what is going on? How are you?
Hey, Kyle. Thank you so much for having me on your podcast. I'm super excited to be here. It's an honor.
Aw, thank you very much. Yeah, I was super excited. Guys, Valerie and I met through a mutual friend. Shout out to Mr. Matt Bierce. Love you, buddy.
Yes, I love Matt.
He's awesome. Love that guy.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm excited to, kind of dig into your story today and kind of like, I guess, how you began and, kind of discovered like the entrepreneurial type of route all the way to kind of where you're at now.
Yeah.
But yeah, we can kind of jump right in and the floor is yours.
All right. Well, awesome. So I have a background in education, and I was working at a hospital for 21 years. And I did go to school for education because my passion is educating people, helping people, but I never really knew like what path to go on, right? Because education is so broad, right? And I thought I love kids, and then I knew, like, while I was working at the hospital, I knew that I needed to do more. I felt like I wasn't really in my purpose at the hospital. And then I came across an opportunity as a financial advisor with credit that I could do on the side, and I felt like, this is perfect for me because I'm working full time. I have 2 kids. This is something great. Like, I love credit. I love finances. I love teaching people about money. So this is like right up my alley. Mm-hmm. So I did get into this. It was network marketing at the time. And this was my first kind of taste of entrepreneurship, right? So I was able to help people with their credit and their finances and learn all about that, but also like kind of dip into all of these amazing talents that I didn't even think I had at the time, right? So, training people and accountability calls and leadership and, really now I'm able to help people, and I fell in love with it. I fell in love with all of it. And this is where, your mindset, I really was able to tap in, to working on your mindset. And really, I kind of always knew that, but how your mindset is like the beginning, it could make you or break you in anything, right? So really getting that growth mindset in there and doing a personal development every day. And I just love the whole thing about it. I did feel like I was in purpose. And then it's crazy because I actually lost my 9-to-5 about 1.5 years ago because of the pandemic. So I was like, you know what, I'm going to do this full time, right? It wasn't like great timing, but I was like, no, this is like, I'm spiritual. So I'm like, there's a reason for everything. Yep. And then I decided last May to go off on my own and, actually have my own business as a credit specialist and kind of step away from network marketing, because in my mind, I felt like instead of, being a leader and stuff like that, I wanted to really focus more on just serving people.
Yeah.
I wanted to have more control over, helping the people and, having more one-on-one with them. And I felt like there was limitations that I had being a part of a company still that I couldn't do, but now I can, to help people having my own business. So that's where I stepped into, and I feel like everything was like kind of like a stepping stone for me.
Yeah.
And so it's been great, having my own business and helping people and really just either building credit or repairing credit. Like, where are they on their journey? Are they trying to purchase a home? Are they trying to, maybe get their credit up because they want to start a business? Whatever the case may be. It's been very fulfilling to me, thus far. But that's how I kind of like got into this entrepreneur space. And then I'm kind of also, I can discuss it later, but I'm also going into other avenues as well.
That's awesome. Wow.
Yeah.
It's crazy, like, especially how, going from kind of like the 9 to 5 world and discovering, that there's something else that like really kind of like perked your interest in a different area.
Mm,
And kind of like catching the bug, I guess, if you will, you know what I mean? And exactly like you said, like, there is, kind of in the smaller picture, like more in the moment, there's like the actual, like, oh, like, like this like credit business, like this is like really cool. But there's also the other part of that, like you mentioned, of wow, like there's this whole other world that I just discovered from discovering like the credit niche version of that, and it's like, oh,
yes.
like what else is there? Like, and that I 100% agree with you, it's a
Yeah.
beautiful thing, like when you start to discover exactly, like especially the things about yourself that you never really knew were there, until like you actually kind of like stumbled across it, or like I don't know, like once you like kind of find it, like you keep finding more. And it's
Yes.
like that's something that I definitely love about kind of the entrepreneurial type of space in general, is like just kind of like that self-discovery in whatever type of business that you're in. And like there's always more that you can do, you know what I mean? And like
Mm,
what's, kind of like the next step? Like is it like hosting like meetups, or like, like there's always something else, you know what I mean? And it's
yeah.
just it's a lot of fun, to kind
Yeah.
of
Right.
kind of see how far like you want to go, and
Yeah.
just run with it and see what happens.
Exactly. It's like you're limitless,
Hmm.
and so once you start to stretch yourself, that, and it's true what they say, like once you stretch yourself, you can't go back. Once you stretch your mind, you can't go back. And when you start to stretch yourself, and it takes work, it takes work, it takes a lot of accountability, honesty with yourself, and about like where, maybe your weaknesses are or whatever, but you discover so much more about yourself. And once you stretch yourself, you're like, well, how much further can I go? And I almost feel like, and there's nothing wrong with a 9 to 5 if anyone's listening to this,
Yeah.
but I felt, because I wasn't like living in my purpose in my 9 to 5, I felt boxed in, I felt like I could only do so much, I felt like it was very monotonous for me, you know what I mean? Like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, like two little, and it was just very like, I just wasn't thinking. I was just kind of going with the flow and doing
Yeah.
the same thing every day. And now I'm like, I really feel like, oh, I can help so many people. I can do this. I can do that. I'm actually enjoying it. I'm like, wow, you can actually enjoy making a living like some people have, I
Yeah.
actually kind of got here. So I appreciate all of the obstacles I took to get. There was many, and there'll be more. But I appreciate them all because adversity does build you. And there's been a lot of adversity, right? So, but I now that I'm, helping people, and especially in the credit world, because I as soon as I got into the credit world, that's where I learned like a lot of people were not trusting like credit repair people and stuff like that, because there are a lot of scams out there, right? So
Yeah.
I honestly I felt like, well, I'm like a genuine person and I'm honest, so this is good because I can truly help people and be like that honest person. Sometimes, a lot of times I always do free consultations, but a lot of times people don't need repair from me. So they just need advice on how to build their credit. And I'll stay on the phone with them and I'll tell them, do this, this, and this, and this. And I'm not getting a dime from it, but I know I just helped somebody, right? So I just feel like always just kind of spreading your knowledge and letting people know, like, wait a minute, like a lot of people don't know about credit, but yet credit is our adult report card, and it can keep you from a lot of money. Like you could even higher interest rates, you're spending thousands of dollars. It's almost like it's a cycle, like a vicious cycle, unless you can get out of it. And I kind of look at it as it's a game and we're here to win it. Like, how can I have people win it so that they can get lower interest rates? They can get approved. They don't need co-signers. They can get into homes. They can start their businesses, whatever. And they can be educated on what's the right thing to do. And it kind of like all of this kind of pushed me to, you know what, like I'm really into mindset. I'm really into spirituality, visualization, all of that stuff. So now I'm also starting a YouTube channel. That's coming out this week. And my videos are going to be about credit. Some are going to be about mindset, like money, all kinds of things, anything that I can do to help people evolve. And, you know, you take what you need, leave what you don't. But I'm trying to reach as many people as possible and trying to be just a positive voice in a way where just people feel like they want to, you know, not stay stuck and kind of grow in whatever area they need to grow in their life.
Of course. No,
Yeah.
I absolutely love that. You know what I mean? And it's a lot of fun. We definitely share that, you know, kind of like teacher, like, you know, desire to kind of be like a positive, I guess kind of like, you know, person that people can gravitate to get
Mhm.
help, you know, in whatever way that looks like. And it's like the amount of like gratification that comes from that. Exactly like you said, you know, like even if it's like, you know, just hopping on the phone with somebody and like just like, oh, you know, like this is what I got going on. Like, oh, well, you know, well, what if you tried like maybe this, and this, and like, you know, let me know how it goes. And like you might like totally rock their world and like fix like a ton, you know, and like really have like a crazy impact. And
Right.
like you don't think twice about it, you know, because like, you know, you might do it every day or whatever. And it's like, oh
Right.
yeah, like wow.
Yeah, yes. Yeah. I just learned, I've had some mentors along the way, and I've just learned just add value, you know,
Yeah.
like just add value to people. That's all you got to do. Like just
Yeah.
add value and everything will fall into place. So that's what I try to keep my mind on that. Like, how can I add value? How can I be of service? And whatever I know, I'm just going to share, you know? So I actually, one thing that I've noticed in the credit world is that, and this is what I get all the time. I don't understand. Like I look at one app and my score says this. I look at another app, my score says that. I don't know what my right credit score is. And there are actually 16 different versions of a score, right?
Wow.
So yeah, it's like that's why like people are not going crazy. Like there could be like, you know, there's TransUnion, Equifax, and Experian. They all have different their own scores. And then there's FICO 8, FICO 9, there's Vantage. But there's also a mortgage score, right? Which is FICO 2, 4, and 5. So you know 90% of the lenders are choosing FICO 8 and 9. So when you look at Experian, that's actually way more accurate than like Credit Karma or whatever. But if you're going for a home, it's a little different, right? The mortgage score is a little different. So I've noticed, you know, I mean, buying a home is probably one of the most serious things that you're going to do, most expensive things that you're going to do in your life. It's a big deal. And so the last thing that you want to happen is that you find your dream home and it's in your price range. I mean, it's in the area you want, whatever. You go through all these hurdles to get the home and then you get like denied because of your credit. Like that's probably the most frustrating thing, but it happens to so many people. It happens to people, they'll get pre-approved even, and then 4 months later, maybe they did something with their credit that they thought they was helping it, but they actually weren't, and now they're denied. That happens a lot too, like denied last minute. That's like, oh my gosh, so frustrating.
Yeah.
So I just came out with a mortgage score book ebook, and it is not like hundreds of pages to bore people, but it's very detailed, and anything that you can possibly imagine about a mortgage score is in there. So if like you're trying to purchase a home, I think it's like 20 something, 20 to 30 pages. If you can flip through here, it'll tell you everything, what to do, what not to do, you know, so many months before, you know, you're going to purchase or try to get approved, you know, do this or don't do this. Or if you're looking for a few points, here's some tricks. It literally says everything. And I think that it's so like only a few dollars. I think that everybody should read this. Anybody who's trying to purchase a home in the future should read this so that they won't fall into that like credit trap. They'll know like, okay, well, credit, maybe it's the price of the home, or maybe it's something aesthetics of the home that I might not want, but it won't be credit that's going to stop
Yeah.
me. So, that's my way of like trying to reach a lot of people, because a lot of people will come to me because they're trying to purchase a home and they'll have all these questions. Well, I thought I was supposed to do this. And it's like, well, that scoring model actually supports that, but this scoring model doesn't, So if you do that with this scoring model, you might like suffer a little bit. So, anyway, like that's, I'm just trying to like think of all different ways that I can kind of reach everybody. And I
Yeah.
know that home ownership is something that a lot of people are looking to build their credit for home ownership, but they don't realize there's a whole separate score for that.
You're definitely right. And it's really crazy. Like you're blowing my mind already right now. Like seriously, like the most extent that like I know about credit is like, oh, like the 3 bureaus or whatever, and like the utilization like ratio, like the 30% thing. But other than that, like that's completely it. And like that's crazy. And like what are kind of your thoughts about, I guess, like a lot of like this type of like really crucial information, like you said, like your credit scores, like your adult report card. Like, what are kind of your thoughts around, I guess, like the information being like readily available? Like I feel like there's like so much that most people don't know, and like it's something that's pretty important for us,
Yes. And this is where I feel like it could be so frustrating, because let's face it, I'm gonna be honest, like the way that they set things up, a lot of stuff doesn't even make sense. So I feel like I'm like, are you trying to confuse us, And then some of the information that's out is actually misleading. And I'm going to give you an example, right? So a lot of people are told that if you want to, first of all, utilization is like 165 points of your credit score. You have access to 550 points, and 165 of that is your utilization. So obviously, if we want to maximize on those points, we want to make sure we understand utilization, right? And when you look at credit monitoring apps, or even on the bureau sites or information online, you will hear a lot of these people giving information. Oh, if you keep your utilization at 30%, you're perfect. Like you're doing great. Like you're going to get the most points. That's false. Okay. So keeping your score at your utilization at 30% is actually just kind of going to keep your score stagnant. And on a mortgage score, 45% is considered risky. So obviously 30% is you're not going to get the most points. So why do they mislead people like that? I mean, my whole thought is, this is my opinion, by the way, is that they actually make a lot of money off of interest on you for balances that you carry over on credit cards.
Yeah.
So they're making money. I mean, let's face it, right? If you have 30% carrying over every month, that amount that's where you pay your interest. And so actually what you should do is 10% or below. Okay. So you will get the most points from utilization when when it's 10% or below. So if it's $1,000 credit limit, you want to have by your statement date $100 or less. Okay. So a lot of people will say, oh, okay, so that means I have $1,000 limit and I can only use 100. No. So this is what anybody who's listening, like this is your homework. When you are done listening to this, go to all your credit cards and find out the statement date and the due date. Okay. You can find that out by the paper statement, calling them, or online. And then let's just say that your statement date is the 1st and your due date is the 28th. Okay. So statement date, this is the one day and the only day a month that they take a snapshot of your profile on your, like, let's say it's your Capital One card, and they hand it over to the credit bureaus. That's the only day that they record what's happening on your profile and hand it over to the credit bureau. So if your balance is under $100, if you have a limit of $1,000 and it's $100 or less, that utilization is going over. Okay. So if, let's say you have one of those amazing credit cards that has all those reward points, and you use your credit card, which you should, throughout the month, and let's say you used 1,000, If you get that balance to $100 or less by the statement date, credit bureaus have no idea that you utilized 100% of it, right? So
Wow.
you just got all those reward points, which is great. Now you're being recorded at 10%, so you're maximizing the points there. And then the due date, the only purpose of the due date is for them to see whatever remaining balance you have, what they're going to charge you for interest, and if you were late, if you didn't pay. So the best case scenario, and I know not everybody can do this, so don't feel bad if you can't. But the best case scenario is, okay, use those cards, get those rewards points, pay it to 10% by the statement date, and then on the due date, make that remainder payment. So now you have no balance going into the next month. So you're getting charged no interest, and you just made 2 payments in 1 month, 1 billing cycle. So you actually get extra points for making 2 payments in 1 billing cycle.
Wow.
That's the best case scenario.
That's crazy.
Yep. So now you have no late payments, because also late payments are like really damaging to your credit report. Each late payment can drop your score anywhere from 50 to 100 points.
Wow.
So by you having no late payments, utilizing your card, because you need to utilize your card to get these points, and having less than 10%, that's 65% of your credit score right there, right? So you just maximize on all those points just by doing that gameplay. Now a lot of people at this time of the year are listening to this, and they're like getting anxiety because they're like, oh my gosh, my utilization is like from Christmas. I'm trying to work it down, whatever. Everybody has situations. Now, I will give you another gameplay so that you don't feel overwhelmed. There is something called thresholds, right? So if you are at 100% utilization or 80, whatever, if you're way, way, way up there are thresholds. So if you're at 100% and 10% seems like, something you're like, oh my gosh, I don't know how I'm going to do that. If you hit certain thresholds, they release a bunch of points to you, right?
Oh.
So the for a FICO 8 or 9, the thresholds are 88%, 68, 48, 28, 10, and then below. So if you're at 100, let's just talk about 88%. Right? Can you get that balance to 88%? Because when you hit that threshold, the next billing cycle, not the next day, you will have points released to you, right? And so you're like, okay, all right, I hit 88%. Maybe I could hit 68% this month. Pay it to 68. So if you hit these thresholds, you are benefiting. So just keep that in mind so that you don't get overwhelmed thinking 100 to 10. Just hit those thresholds, and before you know it, you'll be at 10 and you were benefiting the whole way down, right? If that makes sense. Yeah.
That's nuts.
All right. So this is the kind of stuff like you don't get, like they won't tell you these things readily,
Yep.
but it's helpful. It's helpful.
Oh, absolutely. 100%. Like that can be like life-changing. Yeah, I'm sure you've seen it, time and time again. And, you've been, like, wow. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
That's super interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. So the thresholds are good, so no need to fear. If you're up there, you got a game plan now,
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's super cool, Valerie. So when it comes to like, what are kind of your thoughts around, some of those kind of credit cards that have, like 0% interest for like 12 months and as like a tool kind of thing? Like, is that something that kind of like,
So I like those cards. I've used those personally when I was getting furniture. When I knew that I could pay, I'm like, oh, I could definitely pay that off in 12 months. I know Lowe's has something like that. It's like a 6-month situation where like it could be no interest for 6 months. So if you need to make a big purchase and you're like, well, I can't pay it off now, but I know in 6 to 12 months, I totally can get that paid off. I'm all for it because you won't pay interest, right? So why not, right? And sometimes it's with applying. This is another reason why you need to have good credit, right? So that you can get approved for cards like that because, not everybody has, if your refrigerator breaks, not everybody has that money right now to go put on a whole new refrigerator to pay cash for, right? But if you have a no interest for 6 months or something like that, if you can get approved for that and you're like, oh, okay, if it's like $1,000 and I divide it into 6 and now I know, okay, every month I'll pay this, I can do that, right? If you know, okay, I can do that, then go for it because you will save money and interest. A lot of people are afraid of credit cards, and I understand because a lot of us, we weren't taught about credit in schools, and we turned 18 and credit cards were thrown at us, and having that freedom of like charging, and then
Sweet.
yeah,
Yeah.
like, and then you're like, then month comes and you're like, wow, like I've done all that damage. And so a lot of people have gotten into a hard time with credit cards, and I completely understand and I get it. But if we change our relationship with credit cards so that they work for us instead of like work against us, they could be a godsend for you. And so I just want to like really just tell people, like, let's say you don't have any credit cards right now. For those people, my suggestion is to get a secured card before you go and get a retail card. Get a secured card. It's like $200 and to put down. That's like your credit limit. And then I say just use $20 of it a month. Maybe put a Netflix bill on it or something like that. The purpose of that credit card, yeah, you're not going to be able to charge a bunch of things or get reward points, but that's going to build your credit up. Do that for 6 months. Use it every month. Pay it on time. Keep the utilization low. And then you'll be able to get a next level credit card, like a regular credit card, right? I say the goal is to get one of those credit cards. They're like mid-tier cards. And this is where you can get reward points, because when you use your debit card or cash, it's not helping your credit. You're not getting any money back. All right. There are a lot of people who are using these reward cards, and it's the money that they have. Like, you need to think of, like, they say your credit card should be a reflection of your banking account, not like a replacement, right? So you have to make sure you put that money aside, right? But it's like, if you're using it for groceries or what you normally would use for gas or whatever it is that you use, put it on your credit card, get reward points. People are getting flights for free, getting money for free. Like I've started to use credit cards like that, like as I started to get into the financial world, and it's benefited me. Like, I've actually made money off of using my credit cards. Pay it, like I said, the statement date and the due date. But the whole goal is to get to those reward cards, because you will make money off of them, right? And why I say don't make a retail card your first card if possible is because 15% of your credit score is history. Okay. So like, credit's like fine wine. It gets better as it gets older. So you want to keep accounts open and active as long as possible, excuse me, because as they get older, it's going to help your credit, right? So let's say you go and get a credit card at Children's Place, okay, because your kid's a little, that's great, right? But now your kids get older and you're like, crap, that's my oldest credit card. That's what my history is based on. And I don't really have anything to buy it at Children's Place. And let's say that card closes out because you don't use it. And now you lost all that history, and it's going to affect your credit score. So if you do a secured card, you'll always be able to use a MasterCard or a Visa card anywhere, right? Even if it's just $20. Let's say you've built your score up to the 700s, you have great credit cards now. You could just keep that card open, have a Netflix bill on it, have it automatically pay, not even really think about it. And that credit card is serving its purpose for length of history, right? It's still helping your credit score. So I'm basically like credit, but like Lowe's, for instance, I have a Lowe's card. That's a retail card, but I feel like that's beneficial to me. I'm always going to need Lowe's. I'm a homeowner, and I like that 6 month situation. I like how they give you 6 months, no interest. I can always use that if I need it. So to me, any of those credit cards are worth it.
Yeah, 100%.
Long answer to your.
No, I love it. Absolutely. Holy crap.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And it's really crazy too. Because to your point of like people using the cards to like be able to get like flights and like hotel rooms and like all this crazy stuff. Shout out to Mr. John Liang. There's a buddy of mine who came on the podcast well over a year ago, I believe, and he's someone who's like super knowledgeable with the cards, and like he's gone on like these really crazy flights like across the world and like all this crazy stuff, like just from like using the points and like just like really ludicrous stuff, and a lot of I'm pretty sure it's like Chase that like he uses a lot and like kind of like links them together or something. I
Yeah.
just opened my first Chase card not too long ago. So I'm
Yeah.
kind of, trying to slowly learn the ways of like, how can I get a flight for free? Like, like
Yes.
how can I go on vacation for like
Yes.
$50? Like,
Yes. Yes. So I suggest, like, once you start getting a few of these credit cards, see which ones, like, let's say this credit card over here gives you 3+ points on groceries, right? So you're like, oof, that's the card. Like, keep a mental note or write down, like, this is when I go grocery shopping, this is the card I'm going to use, right? Chase is good with reward points for sure. I love my Chase card. I have the Sapphire card, and that's really good for
Yep.
reward points. Yeah, that's really, really good. And I love seeing like you earned all these points. And that's where, when you can get to the point where like you understand credit cards and how to use them and how to make them work for you. If you have a system in your mind, like, okay, I can only use this much, a month, because that's how much money I bring in. So I know that I'm never going to pay interest, and I'm going to get all these reward points, and I'm going to help my credit at the same time. If you can get yourself organized like that, put reminders on your phone when your statement date is due, like whatever's going to alert you to make sure that you play this game correctly. You can travel for free. It's like game over at that point. This is how you can get credit to work for you on so many levels. And I'm going to say, because you're bringing up credit cards, this is another thing that a lot of people get confused on as well. Everybody rushes for that charge card for Amex, right? Because let's face it, Amex, there's no credit limit, and it's a charge card, and they give tons of points, right? The gold card is a great card to have, right? And it will give you tons and tons of points. And if you're a traveler, like, that gold card is amazing. But I want to make everybody really, really clear on charge cards. They don't they're not on the grid for utilization because there's no credit limit, right? So people might be
Gotcha.
like, oh, that's great, right? However, they're not meant for you to have balances. Okay. So when you get a charge card, in your mind, think paying it off in full every month, paying it off in full every month. If you are going to purchase a home and you're going to apply for a mortgage, let's say you have only $1 on that charge card, they're going to consider it maxed out, because the mortgage score
Oh,
currently does not recognize a card with no, like, it doesn't recognize that. So they see, oh, it's $1. They don't know utilization, and they're going to consider it max out. Imagine $1 is getting your utilization all messed up, right? So please make sure, if you have a charge card, you just get in the habit. Like, yes, you can carry a balance. That's not meant to be, but get in the habit of, charge cards are meant to be paid off, right? Like, no percentage, no utilization, pay that baby off. But the gold card is like the best for traveling, that an Amex card, just so you know.
wow.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
super cool though. Yeah, to be
Yeah.
honest, I never really heard of the like the Amex cards much. That's
Yeah.
extremely interesting. Like, I guess how you can kind of use, a lot of these kind of tools in your tool belt for like different
Mhm.
situations in your life, and like
Mhm.
just how to, like, I guess, play your cards kind of the right way, and
Yeah.
just use the tools the best way that you can.
Yeah, and you don't need a charge card. Like, if you're like, you know what, I don't want to mess around with that. You can still benefit from the reward points from other cards, and get, free travel and stuff. You don't need the Amex, but I think some people, like, they just love the idea of like a charge card having no credit limit, but you just have to make sure that you play that game correct, because it's a little different.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a little different, it's a little different. And the last thing I would hate is for someone to get like messed up with their mortgage score because of the charge card.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm.
Wow.
And there's a big fee for that too every year. So you got to keep that and you got to take that. There's tons of rewards for having the card, but there's also a fee every year. So you got to, as you move up to like higher tiers, you got to keep in mind that some of those cards will have a yearly fee. So you just want to keep that in mind.
Gotcha. Super valuable stuff, Valerie. Oh my goodness.
Thank you. I'm glad to give it.
So one question I do have for you that I like to ask all of my guests is, what does wealth mean to you?
Wealth to me is, I feel like this is something that's different for everybody, and wealth isn't only money, right? It's not only money. Some people may think of wealth like, oh, okay, this means in order for wealth, it means a zillionaire, a millionaire, right? But I think wealth is different for everybody. But for me, wealth is financially, but also freedom wise, and also health wise and family wise. There's many dimensions to wealth to me, right? Financially, it is wealth to me, is to be able to be in overflow, right? It's for me, it's to be able to pay my bills easily. It's for me to be able to have money aside. It's for me to be able to help my kids and to help my family and to help other people, right? Like to bless other people with my wealth, to be able to be in a position where I'm in overflow, where I can do all these things and help all these people. Wealth for me is also freedom, like time freedom, to be able to have time, because having all that money but having no time really isn't it, right? Life is about experiences with the people that you love. So having time to be with my family. Wealth is not for me, like for me, it's not like fancy cars and this and this. It's not material. It's being able to live comfortably, but to be able to travel, to be with my family, to be with my kids, to be able to spend time with them. And then health is wealth to me, right? Because if we're not healthy, right, if we don't have our health, what do we have, right? So waking up every day, being healthy, being here is also wealth. Like I feel like I'm sitting in wealth right now. Like I might not be in overflow right now and financially, but I'm wealthy now because I have my health, right? I have people in my life. The people that you surround yourself is wealth. And then also your mindset is wealth. If you have a mindset that you work on every day that's limitless, that's wealth too. So to me, it's like all those aspects into one.
I love that so much. And especially like I definitely have a very similar viewpoint on that as well, like just kind of the balance of a lot of different areas of your life, a couple of the gentlemen that me and Matt are around quite a bit, and like a couple of the groups that we're in Mass and stuff like that, they define it as the 5 F's. So there's friends and family, fitness, fun, finance should be the last one, and there's one more. They're gonna kill me. But there is one more. I lost it while we're live here, but it's okay. But anyways, though,
food.
So that definitely should be one. You're right. But yeah, I mean the point being, like, faith. That was the last one. Got it, guys.
Oh, that is a good one. Yes.
Yeah, and like not necessarily, not to go down kind of another rabbit hole, but like not even necessarily in the lens of religion, but like, because this is something that like I was trying to figure out what faith meant to me, because like I've never really been kind of religious. I don't know, it hasn't really been my thing, I guess. But what I realized when I started to think more about it after having conversations with a lot of the people that follow these same type of models is, it's like, faith in yourself, it's faith in humanity, and like it can like spider off of that. Like what does like faith mean to you, But I could keep going on about that, but to kind of circle back to your point, like, just having the abundance in those, like in being well-rounded, because exactly like you said, like if you're not working on your fitness and you're not healthy, like what's all the money in the world? Like it doesn't really matter, right? And like if you have all the money in the world, but like you don't have the people to share it with, what does it matter? Like it's interesting how everything kind of like just connects. Exactly. you know,
Yes.
and
It's
it's,
interesting and it's important. And I'm glad that you see it like the same way as me, kind of in a way, because it's like it really does all connect and it really is all important. And
yes.
sometimes, and especially in today's society, we put too much emphasis on just like the materialistic part, right?
Yep.
And there's nothing, and that's the thing. Like, see, I'm more of like a balanced person because it's crazy because my whole, and I don't want to go down a rabbit hole, like you said, but like my whole life, when I've talked about, it wasn't until I joined entrepreneurship and was around people like that where it was okay. But like whenever I would talk about money with people, it was almost like I was shamed for talking about it, right? It was
Yep.
almost like, well, you shouldn't be, like, and I'd just be like, well, like, I'm not gonna, so I'm so excited that I'm able to talk about money with people and not feel like there's something wrong with me, because money is not an evil thing. And that, I mean, we can go down that whole other thing. It could, if you're a good person, it allows you to be, to bless people. It allows you to, like, I think everybody's deserving of that. And sometimes it's, ways that we were brought up or whatever, and that's a whole other thing. But
Yeah.
it's also not the only thing, right? Like, we also shouldn't be caught up like, oh, if we don't have this kind of car, we don't have this, like, not everybody cares about that, but some people do, and that's cool. But it's like, for me, it's like wealth really, like, emphasis needs to be put on like the people in your life. Like, how are you living your life? Like, how are you taking care of yourself? How are you taking care of the other people around you? Like, it's just a well-rounded situation. And when you have a little bit of all of that, whew, like, it's like wealth overflow.
Uh-huh. Absolutely. No, I totally agree with you, you know, and
Yeah.
yeah, it's really interesting, especially because I feel like a lot of the kind of the stereotype around like entrepreneurship and real estate and like building assets and all this crazy stuff is that like you just have to work and like not really give a crap about like much else. And like, all right, like just like go hit the pavement, like go get them, go get them, go get them. And
Mhm.
like it's not like that. I mean, like maybe like for some people, I
Right.
definitely do not fall into that crowd, and that's fine.
Mhm.
But
I
like
agree. Mhm.
it's interesting, especially like to your point, like the more that you dig into it and like the more that you have conversations with, you know, those like-minded folks around you, is like there's so much more to it than the money. And like it
Right.
just it's really interesting, like just the way that it works, kind of like the theory of like why we do the things that we do and like
Mhm.
why we're in like the businesses that we're in. And
Mm.
like it goes deeper than the money. It's like, well, you
Mhm.
know, like what is the money allowing you to actually be able to get, like bigger
Yeah.
picture, you know? And
Yes.
like if you keep there was an exercise for finding your why. I read it in one of Dean Graziosi's book. It's probably been around for absolutely ever. I just happened to see it there.
Yeah.
But it was like to finding your why, it was going like seven levels deep,
Deep.
starting with
Yes.
like why did you get up today? You know,
Mhm.
like, oh, I woke up to like go to work or go work on my business. Oh, well, like, why'd you go to work? You know, so I could get a paycheck to take care of my family. Like, why do you want to? And like, you just keep going down the levels over and
Yes.
over and over again. And like,
Yes.
the more that you dig like into yourself, like, and just keep asking that why, like, I don't know. I feel like it eventually, like, if you do it right, like, it teaches you a lot about yourself, you know. And
It
like,
do.
I feel like exactly, you know. And
Mhm.
um yeah, I mean, it's one of the gentlemen that I was talking about earlier. Shout out to Gordon Thornton. One of the things that one of the investors that was previously up here, that, you know, runs the group that Matt and I are in again, or
Mm.
one of them. There's one thing that that really stuck out to me, and that's that at the very end of the day, like all of us just want to be loved, you know. And like if you think about like the different like
Yes.
why like you're trying to buy all those properties, like why like you're trying to make your credit look immaculate to be able to like, you know, do all this crazy stuff, like why, you know, like just keep digging. And like it's not just like, oh yeah, I'd want to have like $500,000 in my bank account, like congrats, you know what I mean? Like,
Yes.
but like what does that bring you? Like how does that serve you, you know? And
Yes.
like just continuing to get deeper and deeper. And
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's cool
And
stuff.
it's very true, and it all does boil down to, like, we all just wanna be loved. And, like, I love how you say that, because the deeper you go, it's hard for people to even, like, sometimes get to that level, but the deeper
Yeah.
you go, the higher you go, right? In
Yes.
your life and in your spirituality, yourself, and, getting to that core, is just like, wow, it's amazing. It really makes you think of things, and it helps you not be so surfaced.
Yes.
Um, and I think that's really, really important, especially in, today's society for sure.
Definitely. And it's kind of funny we're having this conversation too, because this morning I did something a little bit different on my way into work than what I would usually do. So I'd usually, just be sipping my coffee, throwing a podcast, whatever, and just, drive to work.
Yeah.
But this morning I decided to just not listen to anything. Like my radio and everything was completely silent, like just sipping my coffee and driving, and just like thinking about like, or I guess just kind of having like a period to reflect, like it's just me, like it's kind of like quiet time kind of, and like, I'm starting to wake up and kind of get the mind going. And like, it taught me a lot, like, and it was really nice. Like, it's something that like I'm going to implement into my habits, like every day if possible, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And like what I was doing this morning was, asking, some of those kind of questions that allow you to dig deeper in yourself and like deeper in your business, and like just allow you to like just think without any like external influence that like requires your immediate attention, and like I asked a couple of questions this morning that really made an impact. And those were what was it? Like, what's holding me back from achieving the vision that I have? And like the more I thought about it, I'm like, there's not really much holding me back. And like it was this like epiphany almost, like, there's like I need to be a lot more diligent about like looking for off-market properties and stuff like that, and continuing to network, all that. But like bigger picture, like there's not like I feel like it's dominantly more in my mind that's actually holding me back, and the belief of being capable and worthy of being able to do those things and have what I'm looking for. And like the other question was what was it? I'm drawing a blank. But anyway, it was just like another question like that, like just like a self-reflection, like what's holding me back? Like what's the vision? Like where are you at? Like what do you need to do today? And like what's lacking to be able to start to build the steps toward that vision. And it was really nice. And like I feel like I myself definitely do not do that enough, and like just really like just zone out everything and just kind of like all right, like what's going on here?
And now that you did that, you're going to do it so much more often.
Yep.
Some of the best conversations I have is with myself.
Uh-huh.
And I just feel like there are moments where I will literally, I'm like, oh, I've got to turn off the radio, or I can't focus on this right now. And it's usually like when I'm driving or when I'm in the shower, like strange, where I literally like get in tune with myself, and like I will have those same conversations. And I feel like that's your inner power, your inner self. It's because you are digging deep. You are probably doing personal development and all that stuff. And you're getting in tune with yourself, and this is your way of growth, and it's like, it's almost like when you have these urges, like you said, to kind of like shut everything off, no influences, and just kind of be in your mind. And like that came up to you, like what is stopping you, because you need to have these reflection, you need to have these moments. We're always so go 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 that we don't realize we need to stop, and we need to reflect, and we need to have those moments by ourselves to get into our mind. No distractions, no phone, no outside noise. And for me, because I'm I'm a mom and my kids get up, I like to do that first thing in the morning. But like I said, I do it in the car. I do it when I'm in the shower sometimes, and I just feel these urges. But I feel like also like starting the day off in my own mind, I feel like having that moment to like either, just kind of manifest, meditate, and just think, and just kind of focus on what I need to do, fill my mind up with some positive affirmations. But like when something like that comes up, like if I'm not getting the result that I want in something, okay, like let me sit down with myself and figure out like what, like you said, what's holding me back? What is it that I need to do? Or what is it that I need to stop doing? You need to have conversations with yourself. Like everybody needs to have conversations with themselves more, because it helps keep you on track. Like, yes, you can, personal development is important. Talking to your friends is important. Talking to this one and that one is important, but you are the one essentially who's going to implement things in your life. You're the one who has to believe in yourself. You're the one who has to have the confidence. You're the one who has to see what the next step is. So you have to talk to yourself. Like, you have to.
Exactly.
It's like important. So I'm all about that. I love that you did that, because, and you're going to do it so much more now. You're going to be like,
totally. Yeah, absolutely. You know, I'm excited for tomorrow morning when I can do it again. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, just like, all right, like, what's the next thing we can like dig on today? You know, and
Right.
I'm super excited. Very, very, very impactful.
Yeah, it really is. I agree. Everybody should do that.
Definitely.
Yeah.
But Valerie, thank you so much for coming on here. Like, that
No,
was
it's been so
absolutely
much
amazing.
fun. I feel honored. I really feel honored to be in here. It was a great conversation. It was so much fun. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much. We're on like social media and stuff. Can you be found? I'll put everything down below.
Okay. Yeah. So my Instagram is VTridenti, VTRIDENTI. And there's a link in my bio on my Instagram that has all of my links on there and how you can reach me. And if you want a consultation or whatever, everything's there. On Facebook, I'm Valerie Jean, Jean. My YouTube will be Valerie Tridenti, so like my first and last name. And this week I'm going to start doing videos every single week, so definitely check that out. That's it. Those are the major ways to reach me.
Awesome. I'm super excited for that channel, Valerie. Guys, definitely go check that out. It's going to be amazing.
Thank you. I appreciate you so much. I really do.
That's a wrap for today's episode. We want to thank you for being a valued listener of the Creating Wealth Podcast. Make sure to visit www.creatingwealth.com to connect with us. Dive into our ever-expanding library of informative blogs and explore a wide range of additional valuable resources. Stay tuned for our next episode as we continue to create wealth together.